Anonymous. You've probably heard of them. They're the group of online activists that carry out cyber ops to advance social and political change. And sometimes they need a lawyer. A really good lawyer. At first glance, Jay Lederman seems like a regular guy. He lives in the suburbs, drives a fast car, and is a self-professed deadhead. Oh, and he loves whiskey. But there's more to Jay's story than immediately meets the eye. When Jay sits down at the computer, he's anything but average.
I represent accused cyber criminals, many of whom are either affiliated with anonymous or closely related groups.
And it all started with a tweet.
I sent out a couple tweets giving attention to the fact that I would take a pro bono case. The next morning, there was an email in my inbox from Commander X.
Commander X, a prominent member of the hacktivist group Anonymous.
Commander X was the first hacktivist I represented. Once he felt that I was his lawyer, he determined unilaterally that I was the lawyer for Anonymous. There are a number of encrypted chat type programs that I would prefer to use. I like to keep the NSA guessing with which method of communication I'm going to use, with the idea that perhaps they can't monitor them all at once. When someone contacts me and I do not know who they are, it's the most beautiful, purest form of conversation because there is absolutely no judgment on anything. Over the computer, everyone's equal.
One of the hardest things about representing Anonymous is working around digital laws that were written decades ago. His main gripe is with the CFAA, the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act.
The penalties are outrageous. It's a bad law, it's a broken law. It's not something that fits with today's technology. Sharing your Netflix password with your friends, that could be a federal crime. I hope that by helping hacktivists, by pursuing these cases in the courts, by continuing to keep the issues alive in the media, that we can enact some degree of change. I hope it's not just a few of us crazies running through the wilderness.
I'm the first exoneree to be exonerated by an Innocence Project and then go on to be a lawyer for an Innocence Project. The best thing to do with your anger is to use it as the fuel that drives you to reach goals in life. My name is Jared Adams, and this is my story. At the age of 17, I was sentenced to 28 years in a maximum security prison. I was falsely accused of a sexual assault I didn't commit. And I realized very quickly early on, it had nothing to do with the truth. It was about race. If you can't afford to prove your innocence, the court affords an attorney to you. My lawyer convinced my family and I that a no defense theory was the best theory of defense. It was a horrible idea, and that defense contributed to me being found guilty. I was incarcerated in prison. So I was there for almost a decade. One day is too long when you're innocent. I was a kid. I was absolutely terrified. My entire youth was gone. This is when boys become men. I missed out on all of that. I was at the time broken, but when I continued to see that my mother and my aunts weren't broken and they were fighting for my innocence, I decided that if I didn't have the energy to fight for myself, I most certainly could find the energy to fight for them. I started to try to grasp the law. I would get law books, law journals, and read about attorneys who were litigating cases in the state of Wisconsin. So I reached out to the Innocence Project, the organization that advocates and litigates on behalf of the wrongfully convicted. Ultimately, they accepted my case. The court unanimously decided to overturn my conviction. I ended up enrolling in a 4-year college where I studied criminal justice. After graduating, I obtained my law degree and I became an attorney. I had the opportunity to exonerate another person, and it was special to me because it was in the same state in which I was wrongfully convicted. I've now opened my own law practice, and I think that me coming from a place like the criminal justice system, being wronged, hearing the stories and getting to know other men who have been wronged. What better advocate could they have but myself? I strongly feel like this happened to me for a reason. It was necessary to encourage the greatness out of me.
If you're associated with hip hop and you happen to be African American and you're seen with the same group of people, there is this tendency to just assume you, for some reason, are considered part of gang activity. And I really feel like they're targets. It's got to the point now, if there is a hip hop artist that's charged with a crime anywhere in the United States, I'm gonna get a phone call. I've been in this criminal defense space for more than 3 decades. As my practice built up, I would occasionally represent somebody famous. I was fortunate enough to represent Dennis Rodman, Faith Evans, Shaquille O'Neal, and then eventually I represented a guy named Radrick Davis. To me, he's Radrick Davis. To the rest of the world, he's Gucci Mane.
It's Gucci!
Getting him out on bond against all odds, getting him early released. As that was happening, everybody else started calling up. One of the turning points for me on many levels was dealing with the case involving Migos in South Georgia.
State of Georgia versus Kiara, Kendra, Lisa.
Migos came in and they performed, and law enforcement went after them, and they went into their bus, and they said there were weeds and guns and blah, blah, blah. But law enforcement admittedly on the stand said, we went into their social media and we saw all these things and we were waiting for them. Law enforcement, they're just going to assume what they see on YouTube and what they say in Instagram is associated with criminal conduct, and they're going to go out of their way to try to take you down. There are issues that we have to contend with. With the case involving Migos, we assembled 14, 15 lawyers. We have record labels behind us. We have somebody flying in from a record label in Manhattan to testify. But then what about somebody in Greenville, Mississippi? What about somebody in Enid, Oklahoma? What about people of color in those communities that don't have the money to bring in a legal team and don't have record labels standing behind them? And it really catalyzed my interest in addressing racism in our criminal justice system and mass incarceration. I figure while I'm up and about, I can at least do something to fight this system.
A lot of my clients and their family members live in a constant state of fear. 30 years ago, I mean, there were very little deportation cases. And now that is the bulk of cases that we take. Many of the cases go through the Stewart Detention Center. And a lot of attorneys don't take Stewart cases. I really worry that if I were not in some of my clients' life, that they would be in a very difficult situation. I do what I do because I am an immigrant. I know how they feel. I know what their family members are going through. And I would hate for someone not to have the proper representation because I know that I'm really their last hope. I was born in the Dominican Republic, and at 12 years old, my family and I moved to the United States. We moved to New York, and then we moved to Georgia. I went on to Georgia State University, and then I got a chance to work at an immigration law firm as a receptionist. And it was really a blessing because my uncle was picked up by ICE. You know, we never thought that that would be possible because we came here with a green card. Why is ICE picking my uncle up? Why is he at Stewart Detention Center when he's not here illegally? He was detained for almost a year until we were finally able to win the removal case. And it was at that moment I knew that I wanted to become an immigration attorney. So, how are you?
I'm scared. I'm really scared. I'm not gonna lie. I'm scared to be in this place, and I'm scared to go back to my country. Honduras is not a place where you can live freely, you know? Not if you're gay. And I know for sure that if I appeal again, it will take longer as well, you know?
Yeah.
And it's probably gonna be another year.
Yeah. No, I understand. I mean, this is a very serious decision that you have to make.
Yes.
Of course, as a lawyer, I always want to keep fighting. We never really give up.
Right.
But it is at the expense of your freedom.
I would like to say that I would like to fight because I know that you had done everything as possible, and like I told you before, I'm so grateful to have you as my lawyer.
We do a lot of these cases pro bono, and we have 1,500 active cases. The majority of my clients have lived here for decades. They have built a life here. They pay taxes. They have children here. And they have lived crime-free lives. And then they get pulled over for traffic violations. And you know, that's how they end up in ICE detention. So in order for me to visit a client at Stewart, normally I have to get up at 4 a.m. It's far away. It takes us about 3 hours one way to get there. And for years, Stewart had the highest deportation rate in the country. It's in the middle of nowhere, cold and isolated, and just very difficult to get access to. It's difficult to get access to the clients. It's difficult for media to get access. It has a horrible reputation. I hear from my clients all the time about the mistreatment. These individuals deserve that their cases be heard before a judge. So I have to fight for them, and I have to give them their day in court, and they're grateful for that. That's what they want. I've had many cases where my clients come in and they said, I've met with 5 attorneys and they told me that nothing could be done, and we have been able to win their case. That's really why I do what I do, why I don't take no for an answer. If a client is willing to allow me to fight their case, I will fight the case till the end.
La gente que entra ahí y sale porque tiene un buen abogado y porque alguien agarró su caso.
No tenemos derecho a un abogado, tanto del gobierno o ayuda de alguien. Pamela Peinado ha trabajado fuertemente en mi caso para poderme sacar de ese infierno donde estaba, y yo al verme ya en mi caso perdido.
Nadie quería agarrar el caso hasta que encontró a la abogada Pamela Peinado. Y gracias a ellos estoy hoy aquí afuera con mi familia de nuevo.
You know, I really wish that the immigration debate could be more focused on the actual people. I mean, I represent surgeons, nurses, teachers who are just here trying to provide for a better life. It's really a privilege and it's really a blessing to do what I do. I get strength from the cases that we are able to win. It definitely brings great joy to my life because I know I've made a difference.